Hey, what's going on, guys? So we'll be taking a look at this clip-on lens set from TaoTronics. This is just a set of lenses that kind of clips over your phone's camera. It'll allow you to take some more interesting pictures on your phone. So you can definitely buy these from a bunch of different manufacturers. I believe kind of one of the first was Clip. However, that is like a $50 kit, and this one is nowhere near the price. I want to say it's just as good. So yeah, you no longer have to pay the $40 or $50 for Clip because you can buy lenses that are almost the same quality from companies like TaoTronics. Anyway, this is everything that we get in the box here. We just have a little carrying case for all of our lenses, which is of course very nice because you do have these little lenses here, and you of course don't want to lose them. So it's very nice that the carrying case is included. We then have an orange cleaning cloth here. This is for cleaning your phone's camera lens or your phone's screen, but obviously it comes with lenses, so it's kind of ideal for cleaning the lenses. However, it can be used to kind of clean the screen and everything around your phone and whatnot. You can kind of just put the cloth in a little bag with the lenses and you'll be good to go. We do have some literature here that says hello. I don't really know how there'd be that much of an explanation on how to use these. I guess they'll kind of just say what lens does what, and then we have a little free 616 warranty thing for registering your product and whatnot. We then have the little clip here. This is the clip that attaches to your actual phone, so you kind of screw one of the lenses onto the clip here and then clip it on the back of your actual phone over your camera lens. We do have the two lenses here. You can take pictures with three different modes of these two different lenses. So we have a fisheye, a macro, and a super wide angle lens. So that's what you see here. The macro and fisheye are combined into one lens, which we'll of course get into. Then we have these two little caps that kind of go over the lenses here to of course protect them from scratches and whatnot, because you don't really want to scratch your lens, so it's nice that these little covers are included here. So to begin using the actual lenses, of course we need to take off all of the protective covers, so we can just kind of pull off the protective pieces here and then we'll be able to use the lens. This is the ultra wide angle lens here, so you can see it's very high quality. It's kind of a, I'm not sure what kind of metal around it, but it's like aluminum or something like that, so it's definitely not plastic around the sides. So it definitely feels like it's very high quality. There's a very nice weight to it and everything like that. So you can see this says TaoTronics super wide on the side here, and it says 0.4 times magnification. We do have the actual glass here, which is a little dome because it's an ultra wide angle lens, and then on the back here we have the screw mount that screws onto this little clip here, which is of course how you actually attach it to your phone. So this is definitely a much bigger lens than I've ever seen in any kind of iPhone photography kits, which is cool because it gives a much wider angle than any kind of lens I've seen for iPhones. So I had quite a few of these little kits here, and they've all included a wide angle lens, but not this super wide angle lens. This is a lot bigger than similar lenses that I've used for iPhones, and so it's very cool that TaoTronics has kind of gone the extra measure and made one that's actually super wide angle. This is a lot bigger than most that I've seen. I don't really see how that would be a negative thing. I mean, it might look a little odd on the back of your phone, but at the same time you're getting a much wider angle, which is nice. Our second lens here is a 2-in-1 lens. It is a macro and fisheye. So to use the fisheye, you simply screw it on like this, so you have the macro on the back here and then the fisheye lens covering it, and the combination of these two will give you a fisheye effect. But if you want to just use the macro, you have to unscrew this little piece here and then put this down somewhere, and then this will be your macro lens. So this will go over the camera lens by itself, and it will give you a very nice macro effect. The other lens here doesn't do anything by itself, so you will need the macro lens in order to use a fisheye effect. It'd be nice if it was like less fisheye or something like that by taking off the macro lens, but just how it's set up, this lens is useless without the macro lens here. If you do try to use this lens, it'll just give you a very, very small circle, and you can't really focus on anything or anything like that, and it's just not a good deal. So when you are using these lenses, you can either use them with or without a case. I haven't really noticed any difference whatsoever. On some other lens kits I've used, there's been more vignetting or something like that around the edges. However, that was not the case with this clip. I found that the pictures were exactly the same with and without a case, which is nice. Even if you like kind of put this over here like this, you can see that it's actually kind of raised up above the camera lens, which is odd that it takes the exact same pictures, because I think there'd be some difference between with and without a case, but in my experience the pictures have been exactly the same with and without a case, which is nice because normally with lens kits like this you've had to like remove the case in order to actually take a picture, and that's a lot of effort and it makes the lenses kind of impractical. However, because you can take a picture with the case still on, it's much more practical to actually use these lenses while traveling and things like that. So the first lens we'll go ahead and try out here will be the fisheye lens. So we'll be taking pictures of this box here. So we'll go ahead and kind of screw on the fisheye lens here, and to do that you just kind of put it on here. If you see, there's a threading on each lens here, and this threading corresponds with a little clip here, of course. So you do just kind of screw this piece on here like this. You can go ahead and simply clamp it onto your camera lens. One thing you definitely want to do to reduce vignetting and things like that is make sure the camera lens is kind of centered in the little circle you see. So that's good. So this is the Fisheye Effect in comparison to the box. You can see that it does have a huge vignette. However, that is kind of the style of the lens. It is supposed to do that as a fisheye, of course, so it makes a much more rounded and curved image and whatnot. And you do have all this vignetting around the sides, which is just kind of what the lens is supposed to do. Unfortunately, even if you do center it on the lens, you do kind of get an off-center circle. So even if you adjust the lens or anything like that, I found that I couldn't get the circle to be perfectly centered, which is a little annoying just because you're getting pictures like this with the circle that's not really centered or anything like that. However, cropping and whatnot will fix that, but it's kind of annoying that you can't take a picture that actually looks good without cropping. That is just a fisheye lens though. It's a different story with the other lenses, which of course I'll get into. So this is the fisheye effect, and then if we go ahead and take this off here, you can see that it's much different. So the fisheye lens definitely makes a difference here, so we can go ahead and put this back on here. You can see the difference here like that. and then we take it off again, and you can see that it's just like the regular phone's camera, which is nice. So now we'll go ahead and get into the macro lens, which is definitely my favorite. To change the fisheye lens into the macro lens, you do have to unscrew the little fisheye lens here, like this. And then you should just be left with this little piece here, which is the macro lens. We can go ahead and put this on the iPhone here. So to do that, again, you just kind of want to line it up and make sure it's centered and whatnot, which is kind of difficult with this one because the magnification is so large, but you can get a good idea. But then if you look at the camera and there's no vignetting or anything like that, you're good. There's a little bit down here, I think, but it's still pretty much perfect, and you can't really get rid of the vignetting just because of the nature of the lenses and whatnot. Like I said, I found that the vignetting was exactly the same with and without the case, so this is about as perfect as a picture as you can get. Then we'll go ahead and show you how the macro photography works. As you can see, you can't focus on anything like from this distance or anything like that just because of how macro lenses work. Macro lenses reduce the minimum focusing distance by a ton, so in order to actually focus, we'll have to get our lens very, very close to the subject here. So if you can see like this, it does work very, very well. So it says macro here, which you can't even really see. Like, I mean, you can kind of see it on the box here, but if you actually go ahead and zoom in on it, you can clearly read it says macro there, which is really, really cool. So out of the three we have here, this is definitely my favorite lens. However, it kind of depends on the situation. This isn't a very practical lens in my opinion. I guess it might work for taking pictures of insects and things like that, but at that point I think you just want to use a DSLR and something like that. So like I said, this is definitely my favorite lens just because of the really, really cool pictures you can take. You can take pictures of insects and plants and things like that, or even like boxes like this look really cool because you can see all the ink and everything like that. If we were to take off the lens here, you can see that it's just really blurry and a mess and doesn't look good at all. Then we put the lens back on here, and then we can actually read this and it focuses well and everything like that. So yeah, you can just see the difference between having the macro lens on and without it. It's a sharp image that's zoomed in really far versus a blurry image, and so yeah, the macro lens definitely works very well, and like I said, it's my favorite lens. We'll go ahead and get into the wide angle lens here. So to do that, we will of course unscrew the macro lens here and then screw on the wide angle lens. Like I said, this is a pretty large lens in comparison to other iPhone photography lenses I've used. However, this is not a bad thing because it provides a much wider angle than any other iPhone photography kit I have used. So we can go ahead and kind of look through the phone here at this box here. As you can see, it looks normal because it's just looking through the regular camera lens, but if we go ahead and pop on this wide angle lens here, you can see that we see much more and the box is much further away. We do have a little vignetting, which is kind of annoying. However, that's there on a lot of wide angle lenses, but it's not really supposed to be there. It's just due to the nature of wide angle lenses that this vignetting appears. It'd be nice if the vignetting wasn't there, like I said. However, with or without the case, the vignetting's still there and you can't really do much about it. It's not bad. Again, cropping could totally fix it, but it'd be nice if it wasn't there. So yeah, you can see the difference here. It looks like this, and if we take this off, it's much more zoomed in, and yeah, this is an ultra wide angle lens, so I'll show you two pictures now. You can kind of see the difference between this is with the wide angle lens and then without. It's definitely a very big difference, which is cool because for taking pictures of landscapes and things like that, the wide angle lens will definitely make a huge difference for your iPhone's photography. But yeah, anyway, this has been my review of the TaoTronics clip-on lens set. This works with a bunch of different phones, however it's mostly used for iPhones, things like that have the camera located in this corner. If you have like a Samsung Galaxy or something like that where the camera is more down here, this wouldn't really work. It will work with a variety of phones, however you'd kind of have to know based on the size of your camera lens and the positioning and whatnot. It definitely works with like every iPhone, but if you were to try to use it with a different phone, I would base it off of where your camera lens is located and the size of the camera lens, because this may or may not actually work with phones other than iPhones. You can go ahead and judge that for yourself. But yeah, anyway, I definitely think this is actually a pretty practical kit for traveling and whatnot, just because you can use it even with a phone case. So you might look a little cheesy, not as bad as somebody with a selfie pole or something like that, but putting this very large lens over your iPhone's camera lens might look a little funny, but at the same time you'll be taking a lot better pictures than people without the lens. So yeah, like taking pictures of landscapes and mountains and things like that while traveling would look very, very cool with the wide angle lens. The fisheye lens isn't super practical, but I guess if you have a vision for some cool artistic effect, you can totally use that. And then the macro lens is, again, semi-impractical. I think the wide angle lens is the only really practical one, but the macro lens will be very useful for taking pictures of like insects and plants, things like that, which just looks very, very cool. I think it's a ton of fun to use the macro lens. So wide angle lens is definitely most practical, but the other two are just kind of fun to mess around with. But anyway, if you guys like to purchase a product, of course the link will be in the description, as it always is. If you enjoyed this video, then a like rating is always appreciated. If you'd like to see more videos similar to this one, then feel free to subscribe. This has been Jordan for Joe Reviews. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next review.